starting here so that we can pass on to Sheila since she's not well today, and please pass on all our very, very best to Sheila. But Eric, we talked about doing this review session some time ago, and I got to tell you, I'm thrilled to be together, Matt, Hugh, and myself. But if you don't mind kicking off, what's the intention in your mind and in your eyes of doing a review session like this of the program we went through?
Yeah, thanks, Pat, and thanks for George and the team for joining. We did talk about this the last time we did it, and I'm grateful to the Envision Group and the leadership here to be on the call for the team. I think in some respects, whenever we learn something new, at least for me, one of the rules of thumbs that I've always gone by is that it takes hearing something 7 times before it is committed to memory and you make it a habit. And so I think a lot of what we're going to go through today will be a review and sort of refamiliarization with everything, just to make sure that we're embracing all of the stuff that we learned originally when everybody was in Coral Gables at the Hyatt Regency. And I think sort of this session, Pat and Matt and Hugh, has taken on a little bit more sense of urgency because since we met in person, the market has taken a turn and we're not in the same strong air cargo market that we thought we would be in this time. If you were to ask me in February or March of this year, hey, how's peak season going to be for AmeriJet in October, I would have told you that it would be a cut and pace from last year and we would expect another strong peak. And then maybe 2023, not sure. Maybe there would be some winds of change out there based on macroeconomic factors. However, since August, we've seen a precipitous decline in the air cargo industry. We're definitely in a downturn, and we're having to do all the things that a down market has to do to survive. There's too little air freight, too much capacity chasing too little air freight. And even in our little corner of the world, the Caribbean and Central America, South America, and our flight to Europe is feeling pressure. And we're below where we would like to be for the budget. We're below where we would like to be for the volume. So we're working with the sales team on what I've termed a project gaining altitude campaign, where we're working really hard to put more volume onto the planes. And so every interaction we have with a customer has that much more weight and urgency to it, because we want to make sure that we keep the planes full. We're having to get really competitive with price, which is normal, that's what you would want to do in this type of situation. When you have too many avocados or grapefruits to sell, you have to price them lower if you want to move them off the store shelves. And I think it's very much the same way with air freight, particularly where we have a lot of competition. And in almost all of our markets, we have either air or ocean competitors. So we have to kind of perk up and fight hard for every kilo, every pound that we get. And that's unfortunately the situation that we face ourselves in. And that's just par for the course. It's been about 10 years. It's actually been over 10 years since the last downturn in the industry being 2008, when you had the Lehman shock, the global financial crisis. So in air cargo terms, it kind of moves in a similar cycle, 8 to 10 years. So we're actually a little bit overdue for one. 2019 was a great air cargo year as an industry, and then it got even better in 20 and 21. And 20 was the PPE. If you remember all that, we didn't have enough gloves, masks, gowns. And then in 21, it was all about the vaccines, moving those vaccines all around the world. And then things have slowed down since August. We see it in our numbers. It's a dramatic drop. When we read industry reports, we see it all around the world. And so I think more than ever, we need the skills that, Pat, you and the team are affording all of us. And we have to kind of lean into those and make sure that we're trying them, because our competitors, all we have to do is be a little bit better than our competitors, make that one extra call, bring in that one extra shipment, and that's how we win and stay in business. And, having sessions like this, I'm fortunate that you guys are still with us, because I do think it's going to be a long winter, and who knows what 2023 is going to bring. I can't think really beyond the first quarter, but it's going to be tough. It won't last forever. I think it's going to be about a year where we're going to see these doldrums. And fortunately, everybody on this call, have good relationships with customers. They've been working with them for 5, 10, 15, 20 years or more. And we have a great product. We have a great network. Our 757s are up in the skies. We have good reliability. We have enough pilots. So we just have to execute. And that's kind of what I think about. And that's what I wanted to share with the team and you all. So thanks for affording me the opportunity.
Well, Eric, it's our pleasure, sincerely. And it's interesting because when good times are abundant, it doesn't matter what we do. In a lot of cases, what does, but maybe not as much. But when it gets a little tighter in the market, when market share starts to maybe come down a little bit, everything we had in the experience maker training that we covered becomes incredibly important. And Hugh, if you don't mind me drawing on you for, because you and Eric have both seen many cycles in this industry, but when you see down cycles, when things start to tighten up a little bit, what's your counsel and advice when that starts to happen?
If I can add, I think Eric is spot on. I couldn't agree with him more. The big issue that AmeriJet should focus on, in my opinion, Eric, is exactly what you said. If your people are focused, pay attention, go that extra mile, and basically maintain that competitive pressure out there, you will do better than most other competitors. And the reason for that is work as a team. Mm-hmm. Focus on getting those last orders through, pay attention to the details, and you will be successful. I wanted to ask Eric, what sort of percentage do you think the market demand is down by? If you don't mind me asking.
No, not at all. It's a great question. I would say it's roughly down right now between 15 and 18% would be my guess.
That's a big number.
We've actually reforecasted our revenue targets for the scheduled network. And we're currently through the end of October yesterday on unaudited numbers, we're down 8% against our reforecast, which is about 12% below the original plan for the year. So there's some decline that we're seeing. What we don't know, to be honest, is what portion of that is related to market weakness and what portion of that is related to the fact that we had not been running a very good scheduled system for some time, because we either didn't have the 757s up in time, or we didn't have enough pilots, or the planes were broken. And it's hard to know that, right? Because when customers leave you and they find another home for their business, they don't come back and say, well, how are you doing? They've kind of forgotten you. So we have to reprove ourselves, and we've done that. We ran a great operation in September. We had over 220 flights and we only canceled one. So every customer I speak to confirms, yep, you guys are back. You're running a great operation. But now we have to kind of unseat the business that they moved away. And that, as you know, Hugh, is not an easy thing to do.
No, it's not. But I just reinforce for the team your commitment to collaborate, work together. The reason that wolves hunt in packs is you outperform the people who are the lone wolves. So commit to work together and follow through with your commitments. That's what's really critical. That's been my experience in over 40 years in the business. So Eric, keep your team together and make sure everyone is committed and aligned. That's what's going to be cut. Times are going to be tough, but it's working together that will differentiate you from your competitors.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. I like that advice. Wolves hunt in packs. I have to remember that. I like that.
Well, Eric, it's funny because we're a consultancy and we see up and down cycles in different industries all the time. But the one thing that's always guaranteed in Vision success as a team, and right now, team-wise, we've got part-time and full-time consultants. We're up to 23 consultants now. And what we mandate within our team is that we always look for opportunity in packs, and we always deliver, as you well know, all of you know, when we came down there, we always deliver in groups and packs too, because the perspective that's gained, and now I'm talking from a customer perspective, when you have others that share relationships with people, it can be a really interesting thing from the customer standpoint, because you don't just have one point of contact. Sometimes you enjoy the presence and the spread, the breadth of having more people that you have a tight relationship with in AmeriJet.
Yeah. No, and that's true. And I've always viewed the customer service team here as kind of the glue that keeps our customers stuck with us through thick and thin. And I think, this team in particular works really well together. They know each other. They look out for each other. And I think that's going to be part of our secret to success and sticking to it as we go through an uncertain future for the industry. Not anything that we haven't seen before. It's just doing it with a different system. We don't have ACMS, we have smart cargo, we have different planes now. And so there's a little bit of unfamiliarity, but I think we're going to get through it. And there's a lot of upside to the industry. The long-term prognosis for air cargo remains strong. And it's just getting through these little bumps or turbulence, whatever analogy you like to use, till we come out more into blue skies.
Well, you know what? It's interesting. I should send a video that I had just downloaded by, remember that gentleman, Simon Sinek, when we watched that video start with the power of why, when we were all together. What he was talking about just recently is there's been a big market correction, not just with people, because, you know, we all talked about the great risk, you know, resignation instead of recession, and instead of the big chill, it was called the big quit. But what he talks about in this video is some of the correction, the market correction things that happen that, you know, created a big, you know, kind of a turn of people. And what we're seeing around the world right now is people aren't looking for the next opportunity as much because things are tightening up. And people are starting to say, okay, well, how can I make the very best with where I am, add to it, be a part of it, you know, really commit to it. And, you know, so turnover in organizations gone dramatically down, but so too has the shift in consumer behavior that drove so much of your cargo increases over the last few years. And you look at that, so that shift has happened. And, you know, they're even forecasting around the world that we're probably going to have a slightly slower Christmas buying season, you know, for Thanksgiving and Christmas vacation for gifts and for giving. But it's just because for the last couple of years, when everybody was holed up, they had some extra resources. And now that everybody's getting back to work, there's a bit of a slowdown with consumer behavior. And that's why they're talking about this dip in the economy, which I personally don't think it's going to be a long and a cumbersome dip. But, you know, Hugh, like, what are you hearing in that regard in the same stretch? Like, we've got a little bit of a correction going on. What do you think is going to be happening in the months to come?
Wow. Yeah, I'm supposed to be a pundit now on how the world economy is going to evolve. Well, thank you, Pat. That's a
and for Final Jeopardy, Hugh, I'd like to.
I wish I had all that information just at my fore. I'd be on the stock market all day working out things. I mean, I suspect that everything you've said is quite true. There's a lot of uncertainty in the market, and uncertainty breeds fear. So people start making protective decisions. They want to avoid increasing their risk. So from Eric's viewpoint, it'll be the situation where they're seeing this decrease of what, 15 to 18% demand. Yeah. There'll be also some what you will perceive as irrational behavior by competitors in terms of pricing. And I suspect you're already seeing some of that, Eric.
Yeah, we are.
And it's not that it's maybe you're perceiving it as irrational because you're not aware of the full economic condition of some of your competitors. So it may be rational for them, but it's irrational for the industry. And that's the problem. Yep. You get sucked into that downward spiral. But that's why I say you just got to monitor the markets on a day-by-day basis. Look for the right deals. Don't go hunting, down that rabbit hole all the time, but you still got to fill your planes, right? It's a highly variable revenue market, but a fixed cost market. So that's the challenge you face. That's why I say stick to your plans, right? Go after all the deals that make sense, and just make sure you're on top of what's going on out in the market, and don't let things slip through your fingers. And the only way to do that is conscientiousness. Just focus on what needs to be done, and come today renewed to say, we are going to be better than our competitors. And I know that's like being a rah-rah at a football game or a soccer game, but it does mean about coming to work each day convinced that you're the best cargo team in the business. Demonstrate it each day.
Absolutely. Well, and it's interesting. Yeah. And Eric, if you don't mind me submitting this as well, because like AmeriJet's mission, vision, and values, like this is the time when you've got to take a look at the foundation that keeps AmeriJet strong. And I'm sure you're doing this. When you look at each one of these three items that really mark the foundation of the organization, the mission hasn't changed. The vision is still intact. And if we look at the core values and all the behaviors that are expected most of us within an organization, those culture moments where you return to the values and ask yourself, at what level are we holding these values up? Because those values are designed to help people through the good times and the tough times.
The one thing too that Sorry.
Sure. Go ahead,
I
Eric.
was just going to say our commercial mission is to be the window into AmeriJet and our customer's first point of contact, right? So what better in a down market to be able to make a first good impression when our customers call or email is to how this team and our sales team and everybody on the commercial team kind of, touches the customer in that first moment, which is something that I think about.
Absolutely. And that's just it. I'll leave these images up on the screen because they make a big difference. And Eric, it's interesting because, I'm going to throw this image up too, because right now the customer is adjusting. The company has to adjust, but, each individual within the company kind of needs to adjust with the market and what's going on right now, and to refocus on those core values to make sure that you're living each one of them to the highest possible level is what really helps stay that, keep that connection between, the three different parties listed on this image.
Yep, exactly. That's exactly it.
No, George, if you don't mind me calling on you just to bring you into the conversation, looking at the foundation of AmeriJet, the mission, the vision, the values, and looking at the three parties, there's each individual in the company, there's the customer, and then the overall company. How do you keep everybody in balance?
I mean, towards the customer, we definitely need to be as helpful as usual. In our own group, I mean, we need to be as helpful as always, keeping in mind the customer's best interest, also towards the company. And I think in times like what we are living now, I think we as a whole, the whole company, should be as flexible as possible. I think that especially on the operational side, if the customer delivers a cargo maybe a little bit earlier than he's supposed to do, we should not refuse cargo. We simply need to accept the cargo and accommodate the customer as much as possible, which is something that we definitely have to do in these times.
Yeah, and would you say that's a bit of a shift from what it was a few months ago? I
think we became a little bit rigid on the operational side, at least on the receiving end. I think we were, as I said, rigid. For example, customers went from being able to deliver whenever they wanted to being requested to deliver it only 24 hours in advance. But in that process, sometimes either because they were not aware of, or because they were first-time customers, or for whatever reason, sometimes they came when they were not supposed to came, or they didn't come with all the requisites. And yes, when we were with cargo up to our neck, that is probably a logical step, because we didn't have the space to accommodate cargo and things like that. But that doesn't mean that did not create some difficulties with some customers. Imagine you bring your cargo, you already contracted a driver, a truck, etc. You're here, and now you need to go back. Or you're asking us for assistance to deliver earlier than predicted, and we immediate answer. We need to go through 300 hoops to give you a simple answer like that. And I think we need to be flexible. I mean, right now we require, I think the situation requires as much flexibility as we can offer.
Absolutely. Well, and it's interesting because, more and more is it important to really, help understand not just what somebody needs to ship and how, but the why. Because the more and more we can connect with that emotional reason why, the better off we will connect with that customer at that emotional level where they make decisions, not the functional level where they're going to follow through. And then so it's really getting into the center of the circle, really focusing on why they need to buy, why they need to ship, why they need to have that cargo moved. Now, and if I may, like, George, do you have anything to say about that?
Sorry, Pat, if I may,
Please.
there's an interesting challenge for the sales team. So Eric and his team have worked together. I'm sure they've got an excellent formulation now of the profitability model for AmeriJet. That gives them a good understanding of how much they can flex when they're offering rates both on volume and space. At the same time, the sales team have to make sure that they have a really strong collaborative arrangement with their customers so that when there is a decent deal out there, that they're top of choice. The other component of this collaboration is between the sales, the pricing, and the revenue management team to make sure that sales out there trying to win the business, but it can't be won at any price. Otherwise, you get that frustration between the revenue management team and sales saying, hey, I can't take this deal because it's non-economic for us, which ties me back to that profitability model. But it's that collaboration. If everyone on Eric's team understands just how far they can flex, and it is important to be flexible, but it's not just, as I think it was George was saying, it's not just about pricing. It's about being able to be a little bit more flexible in making sure that you are a better partner to the customers than the other guys. Then it's more than just, if we get dragged down into just doing all of our decisions based on price, that's probably the wrong strategy for a high quality, high caliber cargo carrier such as AmeriJet. And Eric, please correct me if I've said anything you disagree with there, because I'm just giving you my perspective.
No,
but that's why I think it's important you're all aligned.
Yep. We have to all be, no matter what the department is, and have our strategy. And like you said earlier, follow our plan and execute on it.
Yes.
And make sure that we take smart shipments, because there's always going to be somebody that wants a lower price, and we just have to get through that. Yep.
Yeah. Agreed.
So it's
I'm just
interesting.
going to throw my
Go
2
ahead, Matt,
cents
please.
in, Pat, really quickly. I'm actually excited for you, and I'm sorry the market's softened. We can blame all kinds of things. It is part of the natural business cycle, but you're in an excellent place to rebuild bigger and better than you were. And I say that because with a less than 1% cancellation, in your last 2 months, your improved aircraft situation, being fully staffed, put you in a position now to not have to have the breakage in your service model that you had for a little while. Because
that's an excellent point.
Change is really tough. And here you go. It's almost like you've been given this little breath to rebuild bigger and better than you were.
Yep, that's right.
If I can ask, Eric, how is your brand reputation now in the market? Because I know you have been focused on rebuilding that, because it was a somewhat uncertain schedule completion rate you had in the past. But is that specifically helping you now to try and maintain better relationships with your customers and rebuild that customer base?
I think so. We have some customers saying that they're glad we're back in terms of seeing that schedule reliability. That's been noted. But we still have more work to do. And of course, when you have a cancellation or a delay, customers will say, oh, well, they're not really back. They're not there yet, and we have to wait and see. So you have to reprove yourself every day. And
every time,
as you all know, you're only as good as your last shipment in this business, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it's interesting because, like, it's when you go through tough times, when you stand by and you really take care of your customer in the best of way, that's where the foundation of engagement comes from between two parties, because you immerse yourself into looking after them. You're involving yourself maybe a little deeper, and not just in what and how, but the why. And that interaction becomes the new foundation for when it starts to slope back up again. So it's interesting. So one of the things, and this is something we wanted to really come back to today, is just understanding, your engagement skills. Because one thing we see from AmeriJet, we're from the third party outside looking in. And what you're extremely, extremely good at, Sylvia, if you don't mind just coming off of mute for a moment, do you take a lot of pride over the relationships you have with your customer base?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Mm-hmm.
And
Definitely.
aren't they incredible?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And Rosario, same thing, Rosario. Like if the relationships you have with your customers, aren't you proud of those?
Oh, yes, 100%.
Yeah,
Mm.
and everybody else on the team, Twyla, everybody, it's you look at it, you've got such a skill to get clarity behind the why. And I
Right.
guess is a question since the training. Do you think
Mhm.
either one of you ladies and others on the team, do you think you've really started to dig a little deeper on the why behind the shipment?
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Definitely. You can feel the customer and, more concerned, more, more connected. It's like a bond there,
Yeah.
which is good, which is strong, which is
Mm-hmm.
strong. No matter what, no matter what,
Yeah.
believe me, no matter what.
So just a question. How good do you think you are in establishing that trusting relationship with your customers? Do you actually call them your partners?
I feel it's strong. It's very strong, and I
Excellent.
can tell you
Excellent.
with our very very old customers and even new customers that are coming in now. Some of them, you can feel, just by the way, by the way you interact and by the way they know that you're trying to do your best to help them find a solution to the problem. Like yesterday, I had a gentleman calling up for the situation now in Haiti, and he had a partner there that was not able to get a hold of the freight that had arrived already. And I was able to give him, the number to Patricia Malabranche, the phone number there to our office in Haiti, her email, and he was very, very. He was so pleased. He said, "I thank you so much. God bless you." I said, "No, sir. That's my job. I love what I do, and now that's what I'm here. I'm here to help you. I'm here to
Excellent.
assist you in any way possible, especially with the situation there that they're having now in Haiti."
Yes.
And he was trying to tell me, and I said, "Oh my God, it's just incredible. It's just really bad."
Yeah, I love hearing that. I love hearing that.
Hmm.
Now, Rosario, anything to add, Rosario, from your point?
Yes, I had a case today with a customer call and she didn't have no dimensions. Remember now with the new system, we have to have all the information accurate on the freight.
Right.
And, I don't want to, turn her down or, turn the shipment because it's for Grenada tomorrow. So I said, listen, we need to have the exact information in order for me to make the reservation. But I'm going to do an exception. I'm going to put a regular dimensions for you, but you must ask the driver when he come in to make sure they weigh the cargo correctly and to put the dimensions correctly. Otherwise, if I have any difference between my information and your freight, the charges are going to be incorrect. To say, well, I will make sure that the driver gets that information to the receiving person so they can have the exact, because I don't want to turn off a customer. I don't want to turn them down because, I know the business is slow right now, and it's very difficult to turn off a customer saying, listen, I cannot make the booking for you because you're not giving me the exact information.
Yeah.
By regulations, we have to have the exact information on the freight, but she's a regular repeated customer. I cannot turn her off like that. So I explained to her, make sure the driver gets to the person who received the freight to make sure update the exact weight and the exact dimensions in the system. Otherwise, we're going to be in a bad shape because probably I'm putting more information, maybe the cargo is less, and it's not going to bill correctly.
Well, and what I did, I put into the chat, each one of these 3 items, just as, it'll come through on your end. You can download it as a PDF, but, like think about it, how well you're doing in each one of these 5 C's, gaining clarity of why, not the functional and the logical reason why, but the emotional reason why, and each one of you, and this is something that came out loud and clear when we were together, is your compassion and showing you're there to support people. You're curious to look for challenges behind challenges so that you can do another form of something I'll put up on the screen in just a moment, which is helping people, or we call it up helping, because you're not selling anything. You're helping people move to the best of your ability, freight from one place to another, which are the goods that sustain life in so many ways. You know how to confirm what's needed most, and to even get your customer to those aha moments to say, you know what, thank you, Rosero, thank you, Sylvia, thank you, anybody in the AmeriJet team, because you brought to light some things that I didn't even think about when you're confirming and getting commitment. And it's really, go ahead, Hugh.
I was going to ask, Pat, so everything you said, totally agreed with. I just wanted to ask the team, have they tried some of these engagement techniques that we've discussed last time and they didn't work? And maybe we could use some of those examples just to work through to see, well, what could we have done a little bit differently? Because a lot of these depend on the two players, right? We have our own psychology, so does the client. And sometimes it's getting the right statements to that person that makes the big difference between winning the deal versus losing it. So I would just be interested to see if we've seen any examples where we tried something to improve the engagement, but it just didn't work out. Is anyone willing to share some ideas on that? And does that make sense, Pat? Is that worth spending some time on?
Yeah, it does, because, you know, like, are there any places where you feel you get stuck and the customer drives their needs more than you looking for that, allowing you to engage them? They maybe move too quickly through and you're not able to engage them the way you wanted. Have you ever run into those scenarios?
Yes, most of the time, yes, we do run in scenarios like, we are trying to, make the customer get more into the information that we need. Most of the times are really difficult because they don't have no information. So we have to interact trying to, get the correct information or try to make them understand that we have regulations, for example, and it's very difficult for me or for us to make a reservation with no information. Sometimes they don't know. It's like a call today with a driver trying to deliver a cargo they were not supposed to deliver today because I believe it was going for Georgetown. I said, well, you need to ask the customer. No, he already have a reservation. I said, well, then you need to call him back. Unfortunately, if you don't have the number and I don't have the number, it's very difficult for me to know that it will be unless you get it from the customer. So we try to empathize. Most of the times it happens daily, but we try to do our best, believe me.
Can I just ask for clarification on that? This is a situation where a deal has been negotiated between AmeriJet and the client, but for whatever reason, as the reservation has been processed, the customer is delivering the product to your warehouse a day early. Is that the scenario? Have I understood that correctly?
Well, yes, example, like we have a new regulations that you can only deliver cargo 24 hours prior to the flight that you have reserved. Example,
right.
Georgetown, next flight is Friday. So he was trying to deliver the cargo today. We know Airwaybill, he said the customer have one, but he was not providing that information at the moment of the delivery. So he got refused. He called to make one. But
right.
like I told him, I said, if your customer already have, you have to ask your customer to give you the airline tracking number. And also you need to deliver the freight on Thursday, not today. Otherwise
right.
you're going to get refused anyway. So,
okay. Yes. So if I'm correct, then this ties into the comment George was making that we have to have a little bit more flexibility about accepting goods into the warehouse. Is that correct, George?
That's correct.
Is this related?
Yes, it is. It is.
Yeah. Okay.
Related. I mean, we all have to understand that even though we were the ones who changed the cargo system,
right,
that the customers, that change went to the customers as well.
That's right.
It's a process that is not only an external thing. I mean, it's that change of system impacted the customers in many ways.
Right. So, and if I can ask, is this also due to limitations in the warehouse that you're simply filling up and you just don't have the storage space?
Yes, originally that's what operation told us that right. It had to do with the space. I mean, it was. Remember, in the beginning, it was in the beginning of this system, it was really, let's use the word crazy.
Right.
I mean, we were adjusting ourselves to the system. We created excessive delays in delivering the cargo. We didn't have all the space we needed. We right. had cargo all over the place. and things like that.
Right.
So the customers themselves had to adjust to our new needs.
Okay.
Not only space, also our processes with reservations. For example, our reservations now are more. Our reservation process is more complex than what we used
Right.
to do. We request more information than what we used to request. And if I compare my reservations to those reservations from other airlines, they're simpler in other airlines.
Okay.
Mhm.
So can I ask a question then of the entire team? First of all, is the information that you require from the customer, are they all must-haves? If I have them, that's really vital. That's one question. And the second question is, if you're able to relax your delivery schedules to say, well, it's not 24 hours, so we can make it 48 hours, would that have a big influence on the customers making the decision to go with AmeriJet versus a competitor? And the reason I'm asking this is that since everyone will be fighting for every piece of cargo that's out there, unless you want to always fight on based on price, you have to compete in other types of service. So if you can differentiate yourselves on either being more flexible in terms of delivery schedules to your warehouse, or not requiring the level of detailed information that you've currently got in your system, if you're able to relax some of those, would that make a difference on your ability to compete?
I believe so, yes, because since we are having the limitations of receiving the freight like we used to do before, of
Right.
course, like right now today, let's say this person was coming to drop the cargo going to Georgetown. We have other competitors that probably will go now fly to this destination. I
Yes.
really don't know if they do, but
Yeah.
probably they will say, okay, I cannot move it with them until Friday, so let's go and move
Yeah.
it with somebody else, you know?
Yeah, no, I understand. What does everyone else think about this? And the reason I'm just asking because, again, if you want to be, the world-class cargo carrier of choice, which is part of the vision statement, what would help you become better at achieving that vision? And one way would be as friendly as possible to your clients. And by friendly, I'm not talking about being able to tell jokes, but by being more amenable to support and deliver on the customer requirements. How do you become better partners? And so it is just an ask there for you to consider that. Obviously, it's between you and Eric about what decisions you make. And I'm sure there are reasons why the current cargo or the new cargo system asks for all this information. So I'm not trying to disrupt that. But in these times where market demand is so depressed, you've got to find ways to differentiate yourselves from the competitor. And the last thing you want to do is, having won some business, then turn it away because, well, they delivered one day early versus something else. If there was room in the warehouse, should I have accepted it, even though it violates one of the principles, which is don't deliver the goods to the warehouse more than 24 hours prior to departure. So treat these as more as just questions to consider. And Matt and Pat, feel free to add if you've got different perspectives. But I really would welcome the thoughts of the team on some of these comments.
Well, it's interesting, Hugh. I sit back and look at, there's things going on right now in the like, and where we started looking at these 5 C's, looking at each one of these, this is a time when times get tough, where, pardon the expression, the tough get going, and sort of sound like a song from the 80s. But it's interesting because when we take that extra caring attention and position with different customers, this is our opportunity when times are tough to make those, to take those relationships and build them up. Yet one of the things is, with all that available spare time that we have, because your team is probably taxed somewhat. Like, I think all of you within the team are, would you say, a little busy or a lot busy? If I could put that question back.
I mean, I'm sorry, you ask me right now? You mean if we are more, if we are busier?
Are you more busy than you were before?
No, not at all. I mean, we
No,
are
not.
since, I would say since August, we have been,
Very slow.
we are definitely less busy for sure.
Less busy, yeah.
So
Well,
let me ask you
definitely.
a question then. If is the warehouse full?
I mean, we are not there, but I don't think so. I mean,
No.
I'm not there, but
So that's why I'm asking that question. Demand is down 15 to 18%, as Eric said, but you've got some fixed rules in your cargo management system. And I'm just wondering where, and I don't know where the answer is, but where is there some scope for you to be a little bit more flexible that makes you more of a better partner for your customers? And again, please don't tell. Yeah,
I think it does. I think it does. I mean, the majority of our customers, they already know that they need to deliver 24
Of
hours
course.
Before, and they will comply for sure. The
course.
majority of them. But whenever
Yes.
we have those, I'm not sure if the right word is stray.
Yes,
The
they
customers.
come in at the wrong time. Yes,
Yes, exactly. Or is a
Yeah.
new customer or whatever. I think we should not refuse cargo at all under any circumstances. Simply,
Not
okay,
in
let
this-
me have
yeah.
your cargo and we will deal with it.
Yeah.
And additionally, I think this is what I told my team, and I will make sure that I emphasize that again. I think we need to be flexible as well at the time of reservation, even
Yeah.
though on the operational side they're expecting something. I mean, when we, for example, we go to Estafeta, which is a Mexican airline. We go to
Right.
Estafeta, just to give you an example. We go to Estafeta, we request a booking. We only need to tell them how many pieces weight and, who's requesting
Right.
the booking. In this case, is AmeriJet. They don't care about the consignee name. They don't
Yeah.
care. I mean, in a way, it's irrelevant, but we in our system require those details. In addition,
Right.
we have the issue of centimeters and inches. We require everything in centimeters. Some people in the US, they measure in inches.
Inches,
That
yes.
also created frictions. And sometimes to create frictions. So I told my people, let's convert the dimensions as much as we can, and be as easy as we can with the customers. But
Right.
those are little things.
Yes.
I mean, it's a little things here, little things there,
Yeah.
little things over there. That when you add them all, I mean,
Yeah.
the experience, in my opinion, is more difficult to deal with those nowadays than it used to be.
Yeah. So obviously, you've obviously discussed this with Eric. What's Eric's feelings about this? I know he's obviously going to be supporting you as much as he can, but I'm sure there's some guidelines there which allows you some flexibility. I just don't know what that is. But what's Eric's thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, I have spoken briefly about these matters. I guess since we are slow now, all these things are coming up. Before they did not seem that relevant, right? But I think we definitely need to change. I mean, we used to. The thing is, so just for historical context, context, we used to be extremely flexible. Really flexible airline.
Right.
We used to receive cargo not ready for carriage. I mean, whatever. We will accept your cargo. I mean, in fact, we were for years making bookings with wide open flights.
Right.
All our flights were open, so they never found a closed flight in AmeriJet for the most part.
Right.
Sometimes we didn't even request dimensions. We just accepted whatever.
Yeah.
Exactly. Sure.
Yeah.
So
You
we
know
went
what?
from
Yeah. I was just going to say, maybe you're probably too open in the past.
Yeah.
And like the pendulum swings from the left to the right. So now the pendulum has swung the other direction. Maybe you're a little bit too tight. Obviously, that's just an opinion at this stage. And maybe that's something you'll have to adjust to get that pendulum back in the middle. But particularly when times are tough, it is how flexible you are to deal with the needs of the customer that will help you become one step ahead of your competitors. That's my experience.
Yes.
But I think that's a discussion that you as a team should be having with Eric. Yeah.
For sure. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry,
Well,
Pat.
That was one
okay.
of my plans for we have a meeting. We have a meeting coming, a department. Like at the commercial division meeting. In a few days, I was planning to bring that topic to the meeting.
Right. In these type of sessions, if I can advise everyone, be as open as you can be to listen to different perspectives, because there will be different views, and Eric will obviously be accountable for making the right decision for AmeriJet. Okay.
Well, so here's the thing, you look at it, you got a little bit of time on your hands. Have you been spending any time reaching out to customers, as we talked about in the training, whom you know you've got additional potential to do something with them.
Yes.
But it's just a matter of actually like, so tell me a little bit about that. Has there been time made for that?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yeah, like, you know, to do outbound calls, to call into customers that you know have additional cargo or additional freight that you could be actually handling. You know, you look at each one of the customers that you have. Have you ever called out just to find out if there's anything else that you could be helping them with?
That is something that is being done primarily by the sales department. What we did internally is, for example, they used to, for a couple of years, they used to do all the reservations for the interline carriers. And we have received that task now, since they are no longer using ad hoc rates or anything like that anymore. So we are taking care of those tasks while they engage in making phone calls to customers and checking with them. So we are assisting each other. I mean, we are receiving some of the responsibilities that they had before, so they can release themselves and, you know, and call and make those contacts.
Okay.
Like before, they were tied up with many. I mean, we were really up to the neck with cargo, but suddenly the cargo disappeared.
Right. Are you finding this successful? This reach out and cold calling by the sales team, is that helping in generating new business?
Frankly, I don't have that information right now.
Okay,
That is
all right.
something that has started recently, but I don't have that information myself.
Yeah, it'd be something to find out in your discussions with sales and Eric, to find out, is it generating any extra traffic? Because again, one of the things that you'll find is being front of mind for your clients. So if AmeriJet has not talked to them in months, then it's probably, you know, it's worth doing some of those cold calls to pick up, just let people know that you are about and you're open for business. Sometimes it works, and sometimes your clients will not want or may not even have the business. But keep yourselves as a company front of mind.
Yes. Yes, I mean, as I said, we were really demanded. I mean, we were all the time, customers were contacting us because there was plenty of cargo. So
That's right.
I mean, we were always full. We didn't have to call them, but now we have to call them.
Now you have to call them. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, so it's interesting. The word that's up on the screen right now is inspire. And this is something that what I think AmeriJet's superpower is, based on all of the people who make up the company, is quite simply your ability to inspire others. Now, you know, of course, over dinner and over beverages, you inspired Hugh and Matt and myself. And, you know, we had a lot of fun with that. But, you know, this is the thing, you know, now is the time where you get to use your skills of inspiration to, you know, to ask very simple, like one call at a time. When you're working with the customer who's calling into you, it's, you know, would you say, George, that it's okay to ask at the end of the call, you know, hey, listen, do you mind if I ask you just a couple of questions? You know, first off, are you happy with what we're doing for you? And they say, well, absolutely, we're thrilled. We're very happy with what AmeriJet's been doing for us, because they obviously called you. And then the second question that you could ask is, you know, is there anything we're not doing for you that we could? Because, you know, sure, this is something where you could hand off, and if they say, yes, there is, that's something where the sales team and this team could really come together nicely. Because if you're just simply asking those two easy, caring, supportive questions, the answer to those questions could bring up an answer that gets handed off to sales that could really, you know, you don't get an answer unless you ask. And, you know, and if you're not asking the question, and with all due respect, you could be missing out on the opportunity to inspire something else that could be done on behalf of your team. Because everybody's they're stuck into old habits, right, Hugh?
No, that's a great comment, Pat. I was going to ask, because of the new system that you're using at AmeriJet, has anyone done a quick survey to say, what do the customers think of the new requirements, particularly having all that information available? Is that making them work extra hard? Do they like it? Do they appreciate it? Or do they absolutely hate it? Any thoughts on that?
To the best of my knowledge, that has not been done to the best of my knowledge.
What do you think the customers would say about your data requirements?
My opinion, or
Yes.
Sylvia, go ahead.
Yeah, my opinion is that most of them, they're not too happy with the new
Okay,
system, because you know why? They're accustomed to the old way. That's the
exactly.
thing. So, you
Well,
know,
that's
it's something so completely, it's like a 365-degree turn here that, all of a sudden you're asking for centimeters, all of a sudden you're asking for customers,
yeah,
the company's name, da 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 da, and you know.
yeah. I just think, and it's just a comment, that it might be worth asking your clients what they're thinking about it. That is excellent feedback for Eric to be able to assess. Is it generating more business opportunities for AmeriJet, or is it limiting some opportunities? And that becomes really important when times are tough, when the demand is down. So if I'm a customer and I've got 2 possible cargo carriers I can do business with, and one of them makes me go through all these loops and provide all this additional information that they never previously asked for, and the other cargo carrier doesn't ask half those questions, and I'm busy, who am I going to do business with, do you think?
The other
Exactly.
carrier.
So I think that should be part of your discussion when you next meet with Eric and the sales team. Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely, it's true.
Yes, that was the idea all along.
Yeah. Okay, good. I think but also just surveying your clients, so it's not your opinion, it's what your clients are telling you. Then it becomes a
Exactly.
fact that you can present to Eric.
Yeah,
It might not even be a bad idea to take some of your very best clients and solicit them to write you a note.
Exactly. Excellent point.
Well, and as you're doing that, what you're going to find is, you'll be in a data collection mode, which actually is not complicated data, because from time to time, what you'll come across is objections, and some are going to be valid, some are going to be invalid. And what I'd like to suggest, and this is something, George, you, Sylvia, Rosario, Twyla, Floor, Adonis, like all others on the team, if you were to start tracking your objections, the reason why, like if you said to people, again, are you happy with what AmeriJet is doing for you and for your organization? So that's the first question that always leads to the up-helping question. And the second question is there anything that we're not doing for you that we could? Because those two questions, you may get somebody who says, well, no, I think we're good, and here's why we're good, and they're going to give you an objection. And respectfully, it's nice to track those objections, because just imagine you had a very caring, ethical, well thought out response to the objection that might help them consider you as somebody to assist and to help in another way. Because this, like, you're making the calls are coming into you. And, I think we'd mentioned when we were doing the Experience Maker training, we had done this very same training for, it was actually Air Canada passenger sales. And what we actually had them do was, they understood the emotional reason why somebody was why somebody was traveling someplace. And in your case, it's the emotional reason why somebody's shipping something. And once you understand that emotional reason, you've tapped into that, and you can say, well, thank you again for trusting us with this shipment. And then, the next question to have a little segue towards it is, just out of curiosity, I'm hoping the answer is positive, but are you happy with what we're doing for you? And they say, well, absolutely we are. And then when you had the follow-up question, is there anything that we're not doing for you that we could or we should be doing? I bet you out of 10 questions, you're going to get 10 people say, or I'd say probably get 8 or 7 people say, you know what, I don't think so. I think we're all good. But just imagine, like, how many phone calls do you go through a day, Sylvia? How many phone calls do you process on average in a day? Even though it's a bit slower. And sorry, just unmute there. Apologies, I should have mentioned.
I forgot. I normally don't take calls, but like yesterday, I think I did like about 10, 15, 10, 15 calls, or maybe 20, I'm not sure. But something like that in the range of that. But to be honest with you, it's not that many calls. Not that many calls.
So you're still processing things and doing things. So it's slowed down a little bit, because when it was super busy back in May and June, how many calls were you taking then?
Well, basically, I normally don't take calls. I just take calls when the agents are, my
But I think
teammates are out to lunch.
I think I can answer
Yeah, George can go ahead and do that. Yeah.
Yeah,
that
please do,
question. I
please
mean,
do.
Sylvia. I mean, she helped also with phone calls, but usually during lunch, and other times when I need her, she's mostly dealing with tracing and things like that. So.
Missing cargo, etc.
But we in the last 2 months have seen a decrease probably of I would say 35% less phone calls. Probably sometimes even more. We're receiving about 100 and let's say 60, 70 calls every day, and we went down, and then we have had days in which we have been above 100, 110, 120, and even we have had days with less than 100 calls, which it has been never heard of on our side, except in holidays and things like that, on days like that. So we have been receiving even 80 something, 90 calls, which is definitely way low.
Mhm.
So I would say in the last times we were receiving let's say 140, 150 calls, just to say a number, and now we are receiving even I mean you can feel you're receiving less emails as well.
Absolutely.
We between the emails, the incoming emails, and the answers. Let's put them all together. It doesn't matter, incoming emails and my answers, and we went back and forth, whatever. We received in August about 21,000 emails, and then in July was 21,000. In August it was 19,000, and in September it was already 16,000. So we are definitely receiving less contacts for sure, in the range of 35-40%.
Well, here's the thing we'd love to suggest, and pardon me, maybe quagest. Remember the quagestion from the training?
Mm-hmm.
The whole idea of a quagestion. It's a suggestion formed as a question, but my suggestion formed as a question is would it be of advantage when connecting with customers to ask those two final questions at the end of every call, A, if they're happy, and B, if there's anything else we can do to be helping you right now. And because just imagine out of 100 and some odd calls a day across the entire team, what if you found 3 or 4 people, or maybe you found 5 or 10 people that actually needed something, and just because you asked, they said, well, yes, let's talk to it. Let's talk about it. Because if you're not asking those questions, you're missing an opportunity. And just imagine how each one of you would feel if you started asking those two very caring, very helpful, very supportive, and very, positively emotional questions of your customers, and you started to get a response that saw that 8%, or the percent that Eric said at the start of the call, and you started to close the gap a little and actually get a little bit back because you were just that much more. You're incredibly caring as a team as you are. But if you ask those questions, a little bit more, and your customer got used to it, and you started to get a positive response by asking, that made up for some of the gap you're experiencing right now, wouldn't that be a wonderful thing that you'd go home feeling so great about and so proud of?
Yes, absolutely.
So that's our chat. If you wanted to give this a try, we would absolutely love, right, Hugh? Sorry, just unmute there, Hugh, too. But we would absolutely love to hear the result of encouraging each other, encouraging one call at a time to be throwing those two simple questions out there.
Yes. Yeah. I cannot repeat, totally behind that, Pat. I think everyone is trying to do the very best we have. And I use that pendulum scenario where we swing from being too open at one side and now we're too tight on another. So the question is, we just should find out more from our clients of what's working for the client and what's not working. If we can get those bits of information available to us, it'll help AmeriJet make better decisions. So particularly when times are tough, that's when you need to be as helpful as possible and client friendly, rather than, well, my system asked me to collect all this information, and if I don't collect it all, I can't accept your business. That's probably not the most flexible and customer-centric position to be in. So, but that's something that you guys obviously know more details than I do about the new system. But I think it's worthy of a discussion between you guys, the sales team, and Eric, just to get a better handle on what's happening.
Absolutely.
Yes, by the way, I said before that we had not polled the customers. I think sales did something like that. I mean, it was not specifically what you asked me,
Oh,
but
okay.
they were polling probably like a couple of months ago. They were
Okay.
polling customers. They were asking for questions. I remember one of them was how is our customer service and things like that. I don't recall the other three questions, but yes. Maybe we need to ask a different set of questions now. But
Yes.
yes, they were doing that. We also are modifying. Before we didn't have really any what's the word? We didn't have a window to make reservations. You could make reservations
Yes.
three weeks in advance or a month in advance or whatever. I mean, most of reservations were done around the time of the flight, right? But there was no window for that. But now we have a 14-day window, and that is going to go away. We are moving that window to 30 days, also because that created some difficulties with some customers as well. As I said, we were very flexible, then we became rigid. But
Yes.
the company is realizing that we need to change a few things here and there, so they are now it's coming. They are making the changes in the system to accept reservations up to 30 days.
Yes. Okay.
Is it safe to say that that Tim and Eric and have made the changes in the system in advance of doing $3 billion a year? And do I have the number right? What's the goal?
I mean, the company goal?
Yeah.
I think it was
Is it
a billion. They
a
would
billion?
like
Okay,
to be
so
a billion.
So I'm pushing another 5 years after that. But this system is meant to be used at your maximum capacity.
Yes,
Is that correct?
yes. I mean, we want to be a 1 billion in revenue company soon.
And this
that's the
technology
idea.
is really geared at that level, at which time probably you will need it to be like this. So what I'm saying is I'm playing devil's advocate. I'm saying you're implementing the system you will need, but it's not doing exactly what you want with your customers at this time. And I think, you know, with what Hugh and Pat have said and yourself, George, when you make your case to the executive, you need to find that happy medium in the interim. And I think you'll be successful.
Well, I think you're doing a wonderful job as it is right now too, by the way. And this is something where I really hope as a team that you're celebrating the small wins, the big wins, whichever wins, because, now is the time to keep everybody's, hope and spirits up while things slow down a tiny bit. And when you celebrate the wins and when you celebrate all of the relationship advances that you've made, these are the small things that continue to build such a strong foundation so that when the business does come back and does return, that's, like, let's say 6 months from now, when things start to come back, what are you gonna wish you spent more time on, or what do you wish you would have done more of or less of, during this slower, tricky time? Because this is the time when you get to add strength to the team. What's one example of something, Rosario, that if it was 6 months from now, looking back, if it was, this coming spring, if it was March or April, and you're looking back on November, December, January, February, if you're looking back in the last 5 or 6 months, what do you wish you might have done more or less of over these next 5 months?
Well, I always do the same. I mean, we always wanted, more calls, more cargo, more reservation, and, interact more with the customer. There are lately, we got a lot of new customers, and what they ask most of the time lately is if we are going to increase more flights to few destinations, that we only fly one one time a week. So, but that's just not up to us. That's up to management.
As long as you're relating that information to them that they are asking about future demand.
Yeah,
You know,
they for it's coming according to every year. December is just peak season, supposedly
Yeah.
be peak season, the busiest time of the year, and they already requested if we already know if we are going to increase flights for a few destinations that we only fly one time a week. So, what I just tell them, I said, well, we don't have any updated information on that, on that question. So we don't know yet. So, but yes, before we used to fly more times a week for a few destinations, but not anymore. So, it's a variety on everything, times change, season change, and everything change. And after pandemic, everything has changed completely.
Oh, Rosario, isn't that true in every business? But I'm just going to relate. Coming back to talk to you, a couple of months. Do you remember what your status was when we spoke last? You couldn't put airplanes in the air. You were having mechanicals. You didn't have pilots.
Right.
You were disappointing customers every day.
Right.
Yes.
Your business has already improved, as far as I'm concerned, 80% in terms of operational efficiency. And I'm share it with your cohorts and the other parts of your industry. I think you have a lot to be extremely proud about.
Yeah, that is
That's
true.
true.
That is
It's
true.
true. Very true.
And that's probably maybe that's why we are probably now paying consequences because of that issue, because we turn off a lot of customers with that, cancellation on flights every day because of the mechanical issues, and we didn't have no aircraft. That I agree 100%. And like I
You're
said,
going to win them back though, Rosario, because
Yeah.
of you, because it's your people that will win them back. And now you have the operation behind the people to make this. You are a wonderful company. You're going to be even more wonderful.
yes, no, of course. We're gonna get back again. We're gonna go back on track. It all depends on the like right now, our sales team also have to get a big impact in all our customers, because they are the ones who need to go visit them and call them and ask them for questions, and offer them the new services, new aircraft, and all of that. So it's a combination on and everybody. Because
Absolutely.
as a team, that's what we need to always work in team. I spoke to Gladys, one of the sales rep, and she's the one who told me, Rosario, we're in a bad shape. We are, that's why when she told me that the other day, and I'm like, to me, to turn off a customer not making a reservation because they're missing one information, I try to make it the best way possible so we can have the business, because we cannot just tell them, no, I cannot make the booking for you. That's a negative. So it's a combination. We have to work as a team.
Yeah, and sorry, Rosario, to jump in.
We will
Please go ahead.
recover. I'm sure we will recover because there is a clear objective of having reliable flights, which is in an airline that is critical. So the upper management has that very clear, and we have been delivering for the last 3 months already. So we are delivering that, and now I'm sure we are going to pick up now during the peak season, and AmeriJet has always been like a rubber ball. We always bounce back.
No, it's true. Very true. Very
we
true.
get together and we determine what we're going to do, and we always get back to where we were.
Well said, George. Well said.
Very well.
Again, the changes in your business are daunting from somebody like myself as a consultant when I hear, but what I hear is you're winning. And the fact that you're focused on what you're doing now and how to make that best, I think is where your best efforts are, in conjunction with your team's strategic plans.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So here's something, you look at it, because when you looked at the whole purpose and the foundation of the training that we took the entire team through, you know, all of you and the rest of the team, it was interesting because, you know, the premise of the whole training was to really look at, you know, this vision model is something that is really, it's an agenda almost for a call, because when somebody calls in and they're looking to move their freight with AmeriJet, it's not just to find out, okay, well, how much freight, how much weight, you know, where do you want, like, that's really step 2 of the model. But when you get people to sit back and say, well, you know, so you where do you want to move it to, and but why is it so important for you to move there? To find out the why behind the shipment gets to an emotional reason that allows you to really help them, help the customer in different ways. So the more clear you are on why they're shipping it, and if you find out a more emotional reason, you know, and even look during the pandemic, some of the things that you were shipping, vaccines, you were shipping masks, and the why behind that was to keep our world safe and healthy. You know, the why behind other things, like when you understand the emotional reasons why people are doing something with your company, with AmeriJet, that takes your relationship to a whole new level. And once you have that level achieved, you can offer options and you can suggest or quadgest options like at step 3 of this model that people will be far more open to. And again, even asking the questions, are you happy with us? Finds out where they are right now. And if there's anything else that you could be shipping with, you know, for that customer, then, you know, that's the second question that really gets the options at question 3. And then to get excited about, well, we'd love to work with that. Then you get excited about the plan to help out with that. You know, you may want to ask, are there any reasons why this shipment might not go our way? Is there any, you know, any obstacles that you've seen or that you see? Like, it's nice to overcome obstacles and then keep the relationship growing. And that's the whole foundation behind what we did for Air Canada years ago with their passenger sales, just a handful of years ago. And when they took this approach on, that was very caring, very ethical, and actually very heartwarming. So heartwarming that when they started asking those additional questions and they started getting a positive response, oh, by the way, the revenue increase was incredible. But, you know, I'm not focused on that. I'm focused on the fact that people love their jobs even more. You know, turnover went way down. Not to say you have turnover in this team, but your job satisfaction goes through the roof because you're helping the hearts of people at levels that you know, may not have suggested or quadgested before. And it's just such a powerful thing overall. So powerful.
Yes, it
Okay.
is.
If I may ask, and sorry, Hugh, do you have anything more to say about that?
No, I think those are some excellent points. I like linking the vision model to the type of questions you'd use to engage with your clients. I think that's an excellent way of presenting that. So that ties the vision model and engagement together. And just as a person who's been in the airline business for 40 years, it used to really cause challenges when you want to be the best customer-centric airline out there. Obviously, I was mostly in passenger side, but cargo also reported to me. And everyone is so quick to jump to let's reduce prices, let's reduce prices. And quite honestly, I recognize that in some situations, you're absolutely forced down that path. But as a sales team, as a commercial team, what you're trying to do is do the best economics possible for your company. And frequently, we were able to maintain business and by that relationship we had with our clients. So finding out how much business did I previously had with the clients? Now times are weaker, so my volume of business will go down. But am I maintaining my share of their business, or because of who I am as an airline and I have a trusted partnership with them, am I able to get a larger percentage of a smaller amount of business that the industry is doing today? And the only way to find out is that, you know, what could I be doing better? Because if they're choosing someone else to a market that I already serve, why did they choose someone else rather than me? Now, in a lot of cases, people, you know, let's be honest with each other, people simply make decisions based on the dollar, right? And they'll always look for the cheapest price in the market. And even if you have strong relationships, that may be a determining choice. And you know what? You'll have to make that call when that type of decision comes in with a client. But there are other things you can do And again, it depends on the market, depends on the product and service, where you can find out, are there things that are putting barriers between myself or my airline and someone else? And that the only way you can get the right answer is cannot be based on opinion. You have to ask those questions. And sometimes you may not like the answer. But if those are the answers that your customers are giving you, and it's more than one customer, and they're all coming up with the same type of comments of why they're moving some of their business to someone else rather than you, that's important information for you to be able to feed back to Eric. And I know the sales team are probably doing similar types of surveys and polls, but are they being communicated to everyone so you know why? And maybe we do need to adjust some of our internal processes and procedures to try and make ourselves more customer centric. Every customer is different. We all know that. Every type of market has that little bit of different characteristics. But the more you know about both your client and the markets that they're operating to, the more relevant you can be to your clients. The most important thing is that I would ask you, do you believe you're a relevant competitor in the market? And if you are, what are the key differentiators you have between yourselves and Joe Blow Airlines down the street? And is it only just based on price? Or is there something that makes you guys unique, which is the quality of your service, the consistency of your product, your long-term relationships and the partnerships, and the fact that you're a trusted partner of them? If those things have some value, which we believe they do, then how do we make sure that those come into play when times are tough? They'll still want some discounts on prices because that's inevitable. But by being able to say, I'm willing to take so much discount, but now I'm going to rely on these other factors of our relationship to help draw more business to me. So I'm trying to offset one versus the other. That's the way that we've had to behave in many markets and in my experience. But I welcome your thoughts. I'm sure you've had the same sort of discussions with most of your clients as well. How are you being perceived in the market? Can I ask that of you? What do you think? Are you considered a trusted partner? Are they loyal to you? Do they believe that some things work well for them, but maybe your new cargo system is causing them some challenges and they need to adapt to it? Or could you be a little bit more flexible to allow them more time to adjust to your new system? And at the same time, not asking them to provide information that's irrelevant to them. They don't think it's necessary, and you're just giving them an excuse to choose another carrier. May not be as reliable, may not be as good, but guess what? You gave me an excuse to choose that other carrier because of how you've been a bit more rigid than you needed to be. Does that make sense?
Yes,
What do you think,
I think
Rosario?
it has a little bit of everything that
Yeah.
that you just said. It's a combination, yes.
Oh,
I agree.
I've had the same arguments used to me in all my career as well. So that's why it sounds familiar, because you're probably hearing the same things as well now. So that's where now that relationship that Patrick has been talking about is so important. Have that trusting conversations with them and ask for more of the business. Ask for business is down, but can I have a bigger share of whatever business is available?
Yeah, no, so let me ask you, and Sylvia, what are you getting out of this call today, if I may ask? What are you taking from this conversation?
A review of everything that we actually did, during our last meeting, but even more so now that we have the new system and everything that we have encountered, and we can actually, I'm pretty sure George will, speak to Eric, and when they have their meetings and go over everything, so we can have a better perspective for our customers. Even though by now the customers, are I can see that you're getting used to the idea of our new system, and a lot of them are also going online and doing their reservations as well.
Excellent.
They are, and they feel more comfortable too as they do that, because I've asked them. A lot of them, they used to do it. They used to do the reservations with me, and I don't know, somehow things have changed for them, in the sense of, it's easier for them, it's faster for them. I guess what happened before is that since we had the new system, they had to wait, much longer online. That's why we lost a lot of the calls, but it was all due to the new system. We were all
Okay.
getting adjusted to the new system.
Yeah, but that does take time.
It does. It does.
Well, listen, and Rosario, what are you taking from this call yourself as well?
Well, like Sylvia says, from the last meeting, at least we are talking about exactly the situation at the moment that we are facing. And it's very interesting that George and Eric know the issue and the problem and they're working on it. So
Mm-hmm.
it's very interesting. Is communication is one of the things
Mm-hmm.
as a team that we need to get together and interchange ideas and talk over about the situation that we're facing right now, because I agree that we are really low in cargo. And I know as for Gladys, one of the sales rep also confirmed that to me. So that, I'm really like this meeting because it's really, it's good to talk about the issues and also to work every time better in the customer service and the work that we do and getting the cargo, moving the cargo and all of that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
My take is that we need to go deeper. We need to become like journalists in the sense that we need to extract as much details and information from the customers and ask the questions that we didn't ask before, or we never felt that we needed to ask to have a better understanding of how they feel and what they need.
Okay.
Definitely.
Well, yeah, and hopefully this chance here just to review and to go over some of the details and the concepts that we cover in the training. It's not complicated and they're actually easy to put in place and deploy. But the question comes right now during the trickier times is are you willing to test and measure to try something a little bit different that could get you an incredibly positive result? That's what I'm thrilled. Matt and Hugh and I were talking before we got on the call. And this is the time, to start taking and I'll send the questions, George, I'll send them direct to you just as I've got handwritten notes here right now, and I'll share them out, and feel free to share them out with the rest of the team because they'll see the notes, as to what the questions are. And, then we'll share the recording. I'll send you the recording separately so others can go over this same, it's almost like a tutorial from the training just to refresh and keep things alive. And we'll keep the recording enabled for some time. So, Sylvia, Rosario, Flor, like others on the team, Vanessa, maybe Twyla, you take some time to listen to some of the items we chatted about today and maybe play the recording back every once in a while as the weeks and the months go on, just as a refresher to keep things alive. But sincerely, what you choose to do and some of the new things that you start to gain and see value and progress from are only going to make things so much stronger for each one of you and more enjoyable and rewarding as time goes on. And so with that, I know we're getting to the top of the hour when we promised to run this call, but Hugh, any final comment before we wrap up in about a minute here?
No, it is interesting though how the markets have changed so quickly, and the demand has dropped so precipitously that all the plans that we had and how well the airline was going to do has changed. But you know what? New year is starting soon, and you know what? I think it's very difficult to forecast what the next 3 months will look like. Or let's say I anticipate the next 3 months will be tough. Let's be honest with each other. But then starting in the new year, markets could pick up. I say, but they could also linger in the doldrums if the Ukraine situation persists and other things happen. But let's see what happens and take each day as it comes. But you will do better the more information you have about the needs of the clients. And your function is to make you the best partner possible for those clients. So find out more and talk to sales, see what polls they have done and see if they've got other insights as well. Share that knowledge, that communication between each other, and it'll help you become better aligned and you will outperform the competitors who frequently work in silos. Sales don't talk to revenue management. Revenue management doesn't talk to marketing or operations or warehouse, etc. The more you work together, the stronger you will be.
All right, George, and sorry, Matt, any final comments, Matt, before we wrap up here?
Mine is simply one of hope and admiration for what you've done.
Yes.
You're going to continue to be the best AmeriJet that you can. And I'm very proud of you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, and George,
Yeah,
I'll
no,
leave it to
guys,
you.
I know it's
You
tough.
get it.
Keep it going. Don't give up.
Definitely. No,
Thank you.
no.
Respect we have for what all of you are doing is beyond what words can say. And I just say, keep on doing it. Keep your heart warm for what you're doing for others. Just know that you're making a major difference for all of your customers. And if you find just a few more small little things that you could be doing extra for them, it's going to warm your heart even more. And for that, I just want to say thank you. And George, if you don't mind, a couple of comments of what you got out of the call, and we'll wrap it from there, if that's okay.
Please, could you repeat that again? I didn't hear you that well.
Yeah, sorry about that. I hope I wasn't breaking up, but
So let me raise my volume here just a little bit. Go
yeah,
ahead.
sure thing. Now, what did you take from today's call? And with that, we'll wrap after your comments, if that's okay to suggest.
What I take is we need to be more engaging, for sure, understanding that we are in a recessionary situation right now. I mean, some of these islands we fly to, if we are experiencing the pain here in the U.S. with 8-9%, in some of these places is 90%.
Right. Right.
So, I mean, when I was talking to an Argentinian the other day, and they told me, well, I wish I had an inflation of 9%. So everything
Yes,
everything is relative in life, you know.
Everything is
perspective,
relevant. Yeah.
Right.
Relative.
So, but in those places, another situation that they have is in those places they are definitely sometimes in a worse situation, and they pay duties on the freight charges as well. So
Yeah.
that makes a difference. The costlier it is, the more duties you pay, and sometimes they try to diversify, sending ocean and things like that. But yes, so we need to definitely be more engaging. Hopefully, well, I don't think the Russia-Ukrainian situation is going to go away. I think it's going to take months for that situation to resolve. And as long as that exists, it will continue affecting us globally. But yes, we need to be more engaging and do what we need to do and become like psychologists.
I think we all are to some extent, right?
We are.
Right. Yeah, we are definitely.
Well, listen, thank you so much. We'll check back with you in the weeks and months to come, but please continue, keeping your heart in touch with the customers the way you do and the way you do best. And we look forward to hearing how things move forward as you continue to consider some of these additional items of helping and supporting those you care for most out of your customer base and with each other.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
So
We
thank
will.
you.
Thank you.
We'll end the
you.
recording. We'll end the recording now as soon as we all leave. But I just want to say a huge thank you, and to those who listened online to the recording. We hope you took something from this conversation from the tools and the ideas we shared. So thank you to everybody, and we'll talk again
Definitely.
soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
You guys
Thank
will
you.
succeed.
Okay.
Stick to the
Okay.
care.
program.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye for now.
Best
Happy
everyone.
holidays if we don't
Happy
talk before
holidays.
then.
That's right.
Yeah,
Happy
happy
holidays.
Thanksgiving
Happy
coming up
holidays.
soon.
Okay,
Take
bye.
care.
Okay, bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.